Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to No Die Classics. Many of you love this series. It's, as we all know, not my most popular one, but every now and then I feel the need to throw in just another game to learn from the old masters of the game. And today on the menu is definitely one that deserves to be in this list, with two absolute legends from the 70s and the 80s battling it out. In the white trunks is the Danish legend, the greatest Scandinavian player until the appearance of Magnus Carlsen, none other than Bent Larsen, and his opponent is the Yugoslavian/Serbian genius Ljubojevic Ljubomir. Now, these two players were both in the top 5 in the world at their prime, and in fact, Larsen, between Botvinnik and Karpov, defeated 7 world champions in his career. So we definitely have some big guns in here today with us. And the game itself is a bit of a curiosity in my opinion, because probably many of you won't recognize the game as I go through it. However, the final stage of the game, the main combination, is remarkably well known and is featured in a large amount of puzzle books. So let's see what we can get out of this absolutely awesome game. The opening, as it was not unusual back in the day in the 70s, was actually the Benoni, an opening that certainly did allow Black to play for a win. Nowadays, on the very top level, the Benoni is considered to be a little bit of a meh type of opening that white players usually very happily play, as it is considered to be not quite sufficient for equality. Back in the day, and to quite some degree even up to date, aside from the bishop d3 h3 line, which by the way I also recommend in my d4 beginners course, this bishop e2 and knight d2 variation used to be the big variation, the big line to go for. And actually, to be fair, up to date, this is considered to be one of the most solid and reliable setups against the Benoni. The key idea here is to keep all 4 minor pieces on the board from white's perspective, trying to utilize slight discomfort for black, because maneuvering these 4 minor pieces now with the restricted space is definitely a tad awkward. a4, a6, king h1. This is a bit of a weird one. Nowadays, queen c2 followed by rook a3 is most popular, with a very strange concept that white is actually going like, I just want to restrict you, you can't go b5, and you are going to run out of useful moves, and eventually I will push you back with f4, perhaps pairing it with h3, and moves like bishop d7 that seemingly support b5 need to be taken very carefully or seriously, because f4 is nearly trapping the knight. Imagine there was a knight, a pawn on h3, this would already be game over. So once again, keeping all 4 minors in the Benoni is definitely a valid strategy. But here king h1 actually introduces an early f4 idea, and I don't really think that that is necessarily the best way to go about business. That being said, the engine still loves white's position here. c4, a really awesome counterpunch, very typical in the Benoni. Black vacates the c5 square for the knight so that he can counterattack against the central e4 pawn. e5, a counterpunch versus a counterpunch. d5, and here it is actually super easy to go over this variation and just, you know, like, don't even bat an eyelid. But if you have the engine on, you will find out that after e5, the absolutely mind-boggling b5 is actually a great move, with the simple idea that after take, black just casually takes back and claims positional compensation, as white now has a real struggle to coordinate the pieces. This is just absolute insanity. And actually, if you guys read the recent interview that was made with Ivan Sokolov on the .com website by, I think, Peter Doggers, he said something that really struck a chord with me when he said that nowadays the best coaches in the world, or I don't think he worded it that way, he said that coaches need to update their databases and look for new trends, not only in openings but in middle game scenarios, and keep up with what the engines tend to do in certain middle game scenarios in order to remain a successful coach, which obviously Ivan Sokolov certainly is. And in my opinion, this is a textbook case. Like, we are looking at a game from 1970, which has, by the way, its own relevance on its own right. But when you struck, gold with something like, hello, DE, instead just play b5, casually leave a piece on prey and positional compensation, that is just absolutely unbelievable. I very highly recommend you to analyze this position on your own to try to figure out how and why this works. And by the way, if you leave the engine on for a while, it will come up with b4 as white's best, which looks like an absolute suicide on the long diagonal. Anyway, after this tangent, let's continue with the game. DE, knight c4, the correct move. b5, that was pretty much expected. Take, and knight takes e5. Now, this is a strange move, but in my opinion, the engine's recommendation, again, by the way, it's noteworthy to mention that it's not that clear. The engine wants us to play knight d6, and after rook f8, simply play knight takes c8. And it looks weird. It just, trades down an undeveloped piece, and then fe, knight e, bishop f4, and the engine claims +2. And even now, as I'm looking at it, I'm still a bit reluctant to believe this, but obviously the more I look at it, the more I realize that the power of the two bishops is going to be extreme in conjunction with the d-passed pawn. But this, like I said, is definitely not an obvious, like, yeah, you just do that and you win type of +2. Instead, knight e5 was played, which gave away a fair chunk of the advantage, by the way. And what is about to come now is going to be a very fascinating and very sharp middle game. Ljubo should have taken, by the way, so he's missing the boat too. And here there was a fascinating line with knight c6. Larsen, by the way, one of the most notable chess players ever in history, known for his immense self-confidence. I mean, okay, Hans Niemann is now definitely contesting that, but until Hans, yeah, Larsen was known for just insane self-confidence. But even he didn't go for this, because here we have got the thematic queen sack for 3 minors, take, and both are hanging. However, here the engine actually claims that after knight e6, fe, de, knight f8, this is still really complex, and in fact black slightly struggles with finding the ultimate coordination amongst the minor pieces. Rook a8, rook a7 are both on the card, so this is still a playable version, in fact slightly better for white. But Larsen did not go for this. He went knight b5, and now black well and truly is going to take over in the initiative. He decided to take e5 twice, which is all fine and dandy. Now bishop f1 again, bishop f4, excuse me, leads to a scenario where the material is immediately in imbalance. And by the way, calculating all of these variations would have definitely taxed the player's time management big time, because here again you look at rook d5, bishop b8, rook d1, and Lord knows what's going on. Actually, according to the engine, queen e8, watch this, hitting there. Oh, actually, no, it was bishop d7, that's right, hitting this, and after bishop here, queen e8, hitting both of these. And even that's not enough, there is rook e1, but there is also knight d4 here. Crazy variations, and according to the engine, after queen e7, black is a little bit better here. But again, this evaluation, when you calculate this line all the way from here, good luck, Chuck. Insane stuff. Anyway, Ljubojevic took with the knight, which in hindsight turned out to be a better call. Bishop c4. Note that bishop takes e5 here allows bishop e5 with the subsequent queen h4 threat, which is going to be the main theme in the game, is already much better for black, despite the fact that black is an exchange down. The two bishops are just killing it. So, instead he played bishop c4, threatening the knight, and then threatening, well, the rook and the knight as well. So the threat now is bishop takes, followed by picking off the knight as well. Bishop e6, leaving the exchange on again. and it did get taken. Now take, and queen e2. According to the machine, queen d3 was slightly more accurate, when after queen h4 the g3 pawn would have been guarded. And that's a big difference. However, after queen e2, now we went queen g5 as black. Note that queen h4 here would have been obviously met by queen e5. That was the point behind queen e2. Larsen is trying to defend and attack at the same time, but he's going to fall victim of his own cleverness here to some degree, because the queen on g5 is also mighty dangerous, introducing ideas such as knight f4, knight e3. So Larsen took on d5, giving up the other bishop, and that introduces the tactical theme that is going to decide the game. Perhaps some of you now already are recognizing the position that, or at least the outline of the famous finish off. If g3 was played, which I think was desired, then another exchange sacrifice, rook b5, adds to the already immense wealth of tactical ideas in this game. Bishop b5, knight e3, and now the bishop, boy oh boy, these bishops are coming in like crazy. But bishop c6, calm and measured, actually allows white to stay in the game, and this does not look like a winnable scenario to me, although I would definitely pick black in that case. But bishop d5 was a big mistake. Bishop took back, and now white is well and truly on the ropes. I tried to make rook g1 work, but bishop takes h2 is very unpleasant for starters. Queen f4 also wins, by the way, so that doesn't work. Instead, rook a5 was played. By the way, the threat is rook takes b5, and if queen takes, then queen g2 mate, hence my attempt with rook g1. Instead, Larsen decided to defend the knight with another piece, so that now knight takes, rook takes b5 wouldn't work. And here Ljubo went in for a very neat finish, and I can guarantee you that when he played rook c8, which by the way, according to the engine, is only second best, f6 followed by queen h4 I suppose is best, but rook c8 allowed an absolutely marvelous finish. Knight a7, and if you would like to test yourself, then this is the test of time, or the time of test rather. You can try your hand at winning this position for black. I'm going to now ruin the party and show you the absolutely marvelous finish that was based on the immense power of the two bishops. Ljubojevic played here the spectacular queen h4, threatening mate, and by the way, this is already mate in 4 here, no matter what. Which is quite hard to believe that white can't even sack pieces in a way that would delay the mate more than 4 moves. Queen takes e5 was played, and here comes the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Queen f2, just when it feels like the attack is collapsing, everything is hanging, comes queen f2 with a double checkmate threat, and the third one on c1 in case the queen is captured. And although every single black piece is hanging, f2, d5, c8, all of them, white can't avoid checkmate. It is just marvelous cooperation among the attacking black pieces, and white has got absolutely nothing to offer in resistance. I suppose rook f2, rook takes, rook check and rook takes is the nicest mate, or perhaps even nicer would be this, followed by the queen Saccarino, and then rook check and rook mate to finish off this absolute masterpiece. So this was the very famous Larsen-Ljubojevic game. I feel like I haven't quite done justice to the immense tactical complications of this game, and I very highly recommend you to analyze this game on your own, to try to figure out the different strategies and ideas and the tactical sequences as well. In order to allow you to do this easily, I'm going to chuck the PGN of the game down below. Don't forget please to chuck that like button, don't forget to sub, don't forget to like, to super like even, and I'm going to be back with more videos very soon. Thanks for watching.